What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a family favorite recipe with you guys. I'm going to be sharing Grammy's recipe for salt bake. Now for anybody who does not know what salt bake is, it's basically the regular fried bake that has the addition of salt, some onions, and hot pepper on the inside. It's more of a savory take on bake, and it's served with a lot of the dishes that regular bake is served with. I prefer this because I prefer the savory taste over the sweeter style with the plain fried bake. But nonetheless, this was something that my grandmother made all the time growing up. She still makes it every once in a while when I'm in New York, and it's always delicious, especially on a Saturday morning when it's hot and fresh. So I hope you guys follow along and enjoy this recipe. To begin making the salt bake, what we're going to need to do is start getting our seasonings or the fresh ingredients ready for it. So in my little mortar and pestle here, I have some chopped onion as well as some hot pepper. Now the amount of onion and hot pepper that you use depends on your taste and your preferences. I'll give my measurements down below as I always do, but feel free to mess around with them and make it as per your taste. What you want to do in this mortar and pestle is basically keep on pounding the onions and the pepper so this way it can become a very fine paste. I like when eating this fried bake to not have huge chunks of onions or the hot pepper in it. You want that flavor evenly distributed, and in order to do that, you have to make this pretty fine. Once you've gotten your hot pepper and your onion pounded together into a very fine paste, you're going to go ahead and add some flour into a bowl, and then you're going to go on top with your baking powder as well as the salt. Now, as usual, whenever I use salt in any recipe, I make sure to tell you guys it's as per your taste. So again, I'll give you my measurement down below, but feel free to mess around with that so you can get it as per your taste as well, because some people like a little more salt than others. So once you finish mixing together all of your dry ingredients, it's time to go in with your butter. Now I'm using unsalted butter in this recipe, but if you wanted to, feel free to use regular salted butter. Just make sure that when you're adding the salt in the beginning, you want to lessen it just a little bit because you don't want your bake to be way too salty. You're just going to mix this butter together until it gets little fine crumbs into the flour and it is properly mixed in. Remember, you do not want very big or large butter chunks throughout your dough. Now this next step involves an ingredient that my grandmother didn't always add into her salt bake. She did it once in a while. I'm going in there with some finely chopped scallions, and I'm just using the green ends of the scallions because I just want that pop of color and that little bit of onion taste that the scallions can give. And after you add those in, you can go ahead and add in that pepper and onion mixture that you pounded. Once you've added your onion and pepper mixture as well as those scallions, you're going to go ahead and add in some finely grated cassava. Now, the cassava is optional. This is not something that my grandmother adds in traditionally. She does add it in once in a while if she has it on hand. I find that the cassava gives a nice little taste to it. It also adds to the texture and makes it a bit softer, but it is totally up to you whether you want to add it or not. I've had it without the cassava and it tastes perfectly fine as well. So after you add the cassava in and you mix everything together, you're going to start adding in some lukewarm water little by little until you get a nice soft dough. For this, you do not want it to be too sticky or else it won't come together and fry properly, and you definitely don't want it to be too hard or else the actual bakes will be tough in the end. So keep adding in water a little bit at a time, and do not add in too much at once because remember, you can't take out water. You could always add a little more in. And a lot of you guys might be wondering why I'm using gloves to mix this together. It's because since I added that pepper and onion mixture inside of the dough, I did not want my hands to smell like onion or to have the hot pepper on them and potentially burn my hands. So I went ahead and I mixed the dough until it came together, and I am going to allow it to sit for about 5 to 10 minutes just so we can allow those glutens to rest a little bit, and it'll allow for the bakes to come out nice and soft in the end. And as you guys can see, I kneaded it until the top was nice and smooth as you see here. So once your dough has rested for about 5 to 10 minutes, you can start to portion out the little pieces of dough to start making your bakes. And in the meanwhile, I've had my oil heating up on a medium heat, so this way it can come up to temperature and be ready by the time I'm done portioning and rolling these out. So what you want to do is take a little palm-sized ball of the dough, and you're going to portion them out, and then we're going to roll them into very uniform balls. Now, as you guys can see, I'm going to hold it with the palm of my hand, and I'm going to keep rolling it onto itself until the top is smooth, and then I'm going to pinch together all of the sides. This ensures that it will puff up in the hot oil when it starts to fry. So these are all of my balls of dough after I finish portioning them and rolling them into very smooth balls. Remember, if you do not do that step, they will not puff up in the oil properly, and nobody really likes a not puffy bake. So go ahead and roll it to the best of your abilities. So once you finish portioning all of your balls of dough and you've rolled them very smooth on the top, it's time to start rolling out your bakes. Whenever you make bake, I always recommend to roll a few of them out, especially if it's just going to be you in the kitchen, because what you want to do is have a few rolled out so this way you can fry as you go, and then when those are done, you can go ahead and roll a new batch and fry those out. It does make it easier if you have 2 people in the kitchen, but it is possible to do it by yourself as long as you just roll a few out and keep them to the side. So as you guys can see, I've rolled it pretty thin. I like thinner bakes. I don't like them to be too thick. But remember, you cannot roll them way too thin or else they will not puff up in the oil. You want to keep it about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in thickness, so this way it ensures that they puff up and you get a nice soft bake. And I just wanted to let you guys know that as you're rolling the bakes out, do not use too much dried flour. The reason being is because when it goes into the hot oil, you're going to have little particles of the flour that sink to the bottom and they will actually start to burn during the frying process. So you just want to be careful of that because as you get towards the end of the frying process, it can actually start to taste a little bitter on the bakes. So just be careful of that. And as you guys can see, I'm preparing a few bakes at a time, so this way I can fry one batch and then come back and roll out more and then fry the other batch, since it is just me in the kitchen frying these bakes today. So my oil's been heating up on a medium-high heat and it's finally come up to temperature. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is add in one of my bakes. Now you can fry as many bakes at a time as you want. I just recommend that if you're a beginner in the kitchen, you just do one at a time. So this way you can get a feel for how fast they fry and you won't be too clustered as you are frying your bakes. So as they're frying, what you want to do is press down on them with your slotted spoon. This is going to help them puff up. And if you wanted to as well, you can go ahead and keep dipping out some of the oil and sprinkling it on top of the bake. That will also ensure that it puffs up. Now I'm going to be honest, my bakes don't puff up all the way all the time. Sometimes I'll get lucky and they'll all puff up. But remember, nobody's perfect in the kitchen, and if they don't all puff up, it's the taste that matters. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat that motion for you guys so this way you can make sure and fry the perfect bakes all the time. As soon as you add it into the oil, you want to go ahead and start pressing on it with your slotted spoon, and then you also want to get some of that oil sprinkled on the top of it, and remember that is going to help it puff up. And as you guys can see, this bake puffed up perfectly. As soon as it puffs up like that on the top, you want to flip it and just let it cook on the other side. After cooking your bakes for about 30 seconds on each side, they will be done, beautiful and golden brown. You can transfer them into a bowl lined with some paper towels so this way you can soak up any of the extra oil. This bake can be served with any vegetarian or meat dishes, and you can also even just serve them plain with some butter on the inside. Alright guys, so that's it for this video today. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet. Go ahead and hit that little bell notification next to that red subscribe button so you can be notified on when I post my newest videos. Go ahead and give this video a nice big thumbs up and leave all those beautiful comments down below. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye everyone.